YouTube, this is Mahadev the Thunder Wizard, and I'm giving you an update. I'm feeling much better. I'm not at 100%, but I don't know what 100% feels like now in this new state that I'm in. So I want to give you an update on what has been happening with me, more specifically because I think it has everything to do with understanding our interaction and response to this 5D shift, which is already here and is coming. So I also want to talk to you about what I believe the effects of CE5 are, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols, which is human-initiated interaction with extraterrestrial beings of light. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but first let me just give you an update on myself. So a couple, 2-3 days ago, I was in a really bad state. I was in a lot of physical pain. Pain was, you know, up here in the shoulder blade, the muscle right here, the shoulder muscle, and then the deltoid muscle right here, on my right side. The pain was intense here, and it was radiating and shooting down my arm, but focusing right here on the deltoid. And so I didn't really know what was going on. I sort of thought that the pain radiating down was because, you know, just the nerves and everything here were inflamed, and that happens. Sometimes you'll feel pain down here when the issue is really up here. So I kind of thought that's what was going on. Normally in the past, when I've had TMS, which is, you know, emotionally activated physical pain, what happens is when you're in conflict about something, usually you're in conflict about, you know, you're like in a bad relationship, or you're in conflict about taking action towards what you want, and you're afraid of, you know, the unknown, etc., etc. What happens is the brain, in order to prevent you from taking action, because that's what it thinks you want, or it thinks that's what you need, what will protect you, it will start to shut off blood flow, which will decrease the amount of oxygen and nutrients that goes to certain muscle and nerve tissue. And it could be anywhere on the body: back pain, neck pain, it could be anything. It's also, anyway, I won't get into all of that. So I thought that was what I had, because there was some obvious deep emotional issues that were happening to me. If you haven't watched my CE5 experiences, I've got them on here on the channel. I videotaped them, and I shared what happened, you know, when I initiated contact with extraterrestrial beings, and when they came into my physical presence and manipulated objects, you know, radios and things like that, and the communications that were going on, and the physical experiences, the energetic experiences, and you know, very importantly, my emotional and psychological response to what was seemingly impossible. That was all of that. So it's just such a huge, huge ball of different things that I'm now starting to pull apart. So that's what the purpose of this video is I want to examine all of the different things that I am now, at least up till this point, aware of in terms of what's going on. So there was a huge emotional component. One of the main things that I experienced, and I think other people have experienced also with CE5, is that whatever your unresolved unconscious issue about yourself, your identity, these will come to the surface. Whether or not these ET light beings are aware and they're specifically going in and pushing the buttons so that your issues will come to the surface and you'll have an awakening as a result of that, painful as it might be, or whether it's just simply the result of being in the presence of a being whose vibration is at a much higher level, where in order just to interact with them, all of your lower vibrational, issues come to the surface, which means your psychological issues. Whether it's done intentionally by them or whether it's just simply a side effect of being in the presence of that high level of energy, I don't know. It might be both. I haven't figured out. I don't have an agenda. I don't need for it to be one way or another. Things tend to be holographic when you get higher in the vibrational range. Things tend to be less dualistic, tend to be less black and white. They tend to be holographic in nature, so it could be any and all and none of all of the above. But my experience with TMS is that, normal human TMS, tension myositis syndrome, where you have physical pains that are a result of internal psychological conflict that you're either unable or unwilling to look at. That is just that. There's nothing beyond that. Your brain is trying to protect you from something that you have been trained to believe is damaging to your survival. Many times, self-sabotage. You have been programmed to believe that being poor is spiritual. So when you go after creating a business that will bring you more money, you end up in unconscious conflict, and that will create back pain, and then you can't get up and do your business. And the only thing that is going on is that the brain has shut off oxygen flow, blood flow to nerve tissues, which then you go into muscle spasm and it's painful, but there's literally nothing wrong with you. So I've learned when that happens that I do the opposite. If the pain is telling me to stay, to lie down, I get up and I do the opposite. So in this case, I had a lot of pain in my shoulder. I've had that before, and literally I go out and I go surfing or I go to the gym and it's gone. But that wasn't happening here. The pain was very intense and it was radiating, especially focusing right here on my right deltoid. So I went to the gym because that's what I've done in the past. It's worked a billion times. I was having all kinds of emotional, not to mention mental, just what the hell have I just been through? I've just been in the presence of, beings from other planets and other dimensions. And, my brain was trying to figure it out. I was frightened. I was confused. I mean, all the things you can imagine. My entire reality was, crashing down, and at the same time, it was incredibly exciting and invigorating and inspiring. And I was just split in half. I was just, but mainly what I was most concerned with was how much pain I was in. And I'm a very physical person, and I cannot tolerate the thought of not being able to be physical. So I did what I knew how to do. I went to the gym. And I was going to do chest, but I was going to do light chest. And I literally could not push a 20-pound weight up as I'm on the incline bench. I could not, which is it's just almost all deltoid in the beginning, pushing it up. And I literally could not, I think I started with like 35 pounds and I think I got it up maybe once, and then after that I couldn't. I went down to like 20 pounds and I literally could not push it up. I stood up and I tried to just do some standing shoulder press and I could not push it up. And then I found even without any weight, I still am having some difficulty. I couldn't even hold my arm out in front of me. My deltoid was just non-responsive. It just would not respond. Nobody was home. The nerves just were not connecting. And that frightened the hell out of me because, that made me think, holy crap, I broke my brain. Because the deltoid is directly connected to the brain. And you find this if you do a lot of yoga. If people who don't have any physical issues or problems or injuries, if they have a hard time holding their arms out, it means that they're having a hard time grasping reality. And so this is one of the reasons why you see yogis and they'll stand in postures like this. Same thing with, the Taoists, the wood posture where you just stand with your arms out like that. One of the things it does is it helps the brain reorganize itself. It helps the nervous system in the brain. So it's, you're doing actual, you're expanding the powers of your ability to use your mind and to meditate when you do these static postures, those of you who are doing the Thunder Wizard. So I was very frightened by that, because it was like, wow, whatever I've done something major, and it's like my brain is broken. And it was frightening to me. So my response to that is to fight even harder. So I'm like going, well, I'm going to push through it, and I'm doing more exercises, and nothing's working. So I shared with you guys what was going on, and somebody responded very kindly, and I've left a link in the description. And if you don't see the description, you can go check it out. Her website is, it's a long website name. It is she'sgotspiritlounge.com. So she's, without the apostrophe, she'sgotspiritlounge.com. And this very kind person reached out to me and said, hey, I'd be willing to give you a distance healing. I said, sure, I'll take whatever I can get. And as it so happened, she did the healing at the same time that I was doing some, just focusing now on meditating and energy work to get through this. And I sort of had an awareness that, I need to just relax. You're going to be okay. But something far beyond what you have understood in the past is going on here. This is happening on multiple levels. So the first thing I want to say to everybody is, if you're interested, first off, let me just tell you, if you want to get introduced into the 5D, today, you can. It's called CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind Protocol. Go ahead and do that. I recommend everybody who is so inclined to go do it. The good news is that if you are worried that something negative is going to happen and you're not ready, what I've found is that if you're truly not ready, nothing's going to happen, because you won't be able to tap into the mindset necessary. Because based on, this is based on the work of Dr. Stephen Greer. So I take a lot of what he says as, fact. I haven't corroborated a lot of it, but it certainly feels that way based on my experience. So according to him, he says that these beings, and by the way, there's infinite numbers of different species of high-level extraterrestrial beings that when we experience them, we think they're angels. We think they're gods. We think they're elves. We think and they very well might be, just to let you know how little we seem to know about it. But that they're actual physical beings. These are, according to him, these are actual photographs. The two on the left, you're actually seeing their, the outlines of their physical body, and the one on the right is a projection of the consciousness of some other being. Who knows what that means. So according to him, what he says is that there are, and I assume there always have been, there are countless numbers of extraterrestrial high-level beings, multidimensional beings that have very powerful technology on their crafts that are able to go in and out of multiple dimensions. But one of the things that they're able to do is they're able to use their highly advanced technology to focus in on conscious projection. And so they're literally flying around, patrolling the universe, looking for conscious projections of, beings that have reached a certain level of meditation and are, either astral projecting or meditating out into space, looking to connect to higher beings. They literally have like screens that can hone in on that. And when they hone in on that, they go, look, we found a conscious being. Let's go interact with them. And the whole point of it is to expand consciousness in the universe. They're apparently beings, that's all they do. That's their job. They fly around looking to help expand the consciousness of the universe. And if they run into planets where there are beings that are, expanding their consciousness, they tap into it and they want to go in and be a part of that and help that expansion. So when you meditate with the specific intention, let me back up. I think they tap into everybody who meditates on a deep level. If you have any meditative power, they see it. Now the question, what is it that stimulates them to want to come and visit you is, your desire, your conscious desire to reach out and connect with them. And so if you want to do it, go ahead. But it won't work if you're full of fear, if you're angry, one of the reasons why deep state is so frustrated is because they are operating from a place of anger, they're operating from a place of fear, of violence. So no matter how hard they try, they're not going to be successful. They're not going to be able to have this personal interaction like this. So they have to resort to violence. So they have, deep state military has technology and weapons where that they can, shoot ET craft out of the sky. So that's where they've gotten all of their stuff from, is that they've had to take it to a place of war. But for the rest of us, these beings are very interested in connecting with any form of consciousness because they want to help, all beings evolve. Again, it's very similar to my previous teachings about the elves. Any case, so if you want to do it, please feel free. But my one caveat is do not do it every day for a month. Especially if you're brand new to it. If you're brand new to it, don't do what I did. Anyway, I have all kinds of questions and thoughts about that. But the one thing, let me get down to the bottom line here. The bottom line is I've now come to the conclusion that what I've been experiencing wasn't simply just emotional conflict that resulted in my brain shutting down oxygen to the nerves and muscle fibers, which is normal TMS. Normal TMS I can cure instantly. If I'm aware of the problem and I simply go out and I literally exercise and put blood into the part of my body that's in pain, it'll relieve the problem. This wasn't happening. I literally was not able to, even without any weights, lift my arm. I'm still, again, it's not healed. And I've since run into others who have had the exact same symptoms, where they do the same thing I did, where they're doing CE5s by themselves every day, and they're having personal interactions and these seemingly paranormal experiences, which you're now realizing are not paranormal. They're just from a higher dimension, and it's real. And then your brain goes, what? And so it creates this, if you're a person like me, I want to figure this out. On the one hand, I want to get it to work. I want to experience that. I want to, there's nothing I would rather do than continuously be interacting with beings of a higher dimension and taking in all their energy and having, energy upgrades. Nothing I'd like more than that. But I have to be realistic. I'm a human being. I am a primate. I've got a primate 3D brain that is slowly evolving. I am hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, behind these beings in terms of their spiritual, energetic development. they are literally bringing with them another dimension, and I'm interfacing with another dimension by physically being in their presence. And on top of that, they're doing high-level energy work on me. Touching my crown chakra, or bolts of energy going into my heart chakra and opening that up, and who knows whatever else they're doing. So I mean, I got to be realistic about that. I'm asking a lot of myself. So again, I don't know. I imagine there's multiple, ships, hundreds, maybe even thousands of ships just right outside all the time. And so you never know if you got the same guy. So you can, one guy shows up one day and he does all this energy work on you and does all these shifts to your chakras and your energy system, as well as your brain simply going, what the heck? You do that once in a lifetime and that's enough. But here I am doing it every single day. And on top of that, I'm doing these live stream meditations where my intention, looking back on it, it was, anyway, I don't regret it. I plan on doing it again, but my intention was to literally summon the entire consciousness of the universe, and now I know they exist. There are innumerable numbers of civilizations out there, and funneling that directly into the earth, and then empowering the earth, and then sending it back out. I mean, the amount of energy that was flowing through my body was, I don't even think I realize, the extent of the energy that I was channeling through my energy body, my physical body, my nervous system. And, doing that, just out of the gate, because I just figured this thing out, so I'm going to go do it. I think it's wise to be realistic and let my body, take all that in. And here I am every single day reaching out to these beings, and there's probably a lot of different ones, and I don't know if they're, sharing notes on, oh yeah, there's this guy over here, so a new ET being is showing up every day that doesn't know that I'm overdoing it. I honestly don't know. I don't know how the whole thing works. There's so many questions I have about all of it. But bottom line is, I believe that this, because the deltoid is directly connected to cognitive functioning, literally thinking. And so now I'm aware that it's not just that I have TMS, which I don't anymore. The pain is completely gone, but the weakness in the deltoid is still there. And I can still feel, like the nerves in there doing all kinds of stuff, which means that's happening in my brain as well. And I've come to realize that I'm being reprogrammed, I'm being restructured, so that every experience that I have, if I meditate and a high-level ET being, beams into my room and meditates with me, just that in and of itself is going to start restructuring my brain, and or flipping on dormant DNA in my cells, in my nervous system, in my energy body, in my brain. And so, my brain just kind of went because it was, my hard drive was being worked on. When you do a defragging of your hard drive, you have to just leave your when you're getting a system upgrade, you got to leave it alone. Imagine trying to use your computer when your computer's, having a system upgrade. You're not going to be able, nothing's working. Why can't I get it to load? It's just too much stuff going on. So I think this is what's happening here. I think what's happening here is that my brain is being restructured. And I think it depends on the individual. Males tend to be more left brain. Females tend to be more right-brained, and I've talked with a female who was doing the same kind of thing I'm doing every single day, doing it and having similar symptoms as I, but on the other side of the body, so the left side of the body. And I've seen that when it comes to, people who operate from the feminine, which is the right brain, if they're in major conflict or if they're overloaded, the left side of their body will shut down. Or there will be pain or something like that. It means that they're right, they operate from their emotional side. So I'm assuming that, she is trying to process things from an emotional perspective, whereas I'm trying to process things from a logical perspective, and, who knows whatever else. And so that's, the right side of my body shuts down. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm also feeling it in my left. I'm realizing on a much lower level, and it's not affecting my strength, but I can feel the nerves, in the same exact spot, doing the same kind of thing, which tells me that both sides of my brain are being restructured. So I'm just going to, allow it to continue. The healing is happening much more quickly. I'm not having any pain anymore. Slight soreness, but nothing, at all like it was, almost non-existent. And the weakness is getting better every single day. So it tells me that my brain is starting to come back online. So I'm feeling much better. I'm actually very enthused. I'm very excited. The fear, which was, I think, part of the process, the fear is the fear of the unknown. And I think there's a very real thing. Look, there's all kinds of fear. There's fear of of just normal fear of going through life and what's going to happen to me and where am I going to go, and the fear that we go through when we go beyond our programming and reach out and express ourselves and be our true authentic selves. There's normal fear about that, the fear of not being accepted, not being loved. Will we be successful? All the things that happen when you expand beyond your normal limitations. That's just normal human everyday life fear that everybody faces, and they either overcome it or they let it control them. That's just basic stuff. But when you physically encounter something that is from a higher dimension, a dimension that your body is not designed for. Or if it is, it's a dormant design that needs to be flipped on and it needs to be empowered. You need an upgrade, which I think is what they're here to do. I think they're here. I'm convinced of it. They are actively here to upgrade humanity. Those who volunteer. You have to volunteer. If you don't volunteer, they're not going to force it on you. But it's an upgrade. And it's like any upgrade you can imagine. When you watch those werewolf movies, when they're transforming, they always seem to go through pain as their bones are cracking, and it's painful. And so it's potentially one of those kinds of upgrades. But the good news is you do have some control over it. You can just choose to go at it, a little bit at a time. I think doing it solo, which is what I've been doing, primarily because there just isn't a lot of people out here, but also because, I've been doing a lot of meditation and things like that. So I know that unless I'm with people who are really able to go into deep, powerful meditation, I'm more likely to get to a more powerful place by myself. So I've been choosing to do it alone because I want to, I don't want to have to worry about whether or not the group I'm with will be able, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to get into it. So I think doing it in groups might be better because there'll be like more insulation. On top of that, you have other people that are there with you that experience it. So you won't have the cognitive dissonance that goes on when you do it by yourself. Because when you do it by yourself and something totally paranormal happens, afterwards you're wondering, did I really see that? Did I really experience that? which is why I film it whenever I do it, because I want to go back and see, am I remembering that correctly? Did my radio really start doing that directly after I asked that question? But when you're with a bunch of people, I think it's a lot easier to incorporate that into your reality. What else do I want to say? So that's my suggestion. My suggestion is, if you want a fast track upgrade to 5D, I recommend doing the CE5 protocols. It's okay if you're afraid. The good news is there's a fail-safe. If you're not in the right space, it won't work. So you don't have to worry about, what a lot of people are saying really idiotic things like, you don't know who you're dealing with and you don't know what's going to happen. Just that mindset itself will prevent it from happening. So anybody, if you have that kind of fear and you're afraid that demons are going to jump inside of you, go try it with that fear and you'll find out nothing happens. So if you're like me, where you're a normal human and things you don't understand do frighten you, being aware of those feelings and yet having the innocent desire to connect, that you can still be very successful. My fear definitely has not gone away, and my experience is every time I reach out to them, they show up, every single time. So it's okay, you don't have to be perfect, but knowing what I know now, I would not put myself through this again. And every time, if I do it again in the future, but when I do it again in the future, I'm going to make sure that I give myself plenty of time afterward to just allow my body, my brain, my energy body, my nervous system to respond and recover from it. I should be able to do it and then be able to function if I don't do it literally every single day. So all kinds of other stuff going on, which I won't take up the time in this video to talk about. But anyway, as you can tell, I've got a lot more of my energy back. I feel a lot better. I'm definitely not back at 100%. And I still think it's important that I rest. So I'm going to continue to just take it very easy, rest, meditate, and just be good to myself, just knowing that I've literally gone to the factory and I've gotten a 5-level upgrade, and I've got to let my brain and my body evolve. I think about Dr. Greer, who started this, and his experiences, and I'm flabbergasted. I'm like, how is it that he could go through that? Because I've had, compared to what he talks about, I've had almost nothing compared to that. I haven't had this kind of stuff happen to me that I'm aware of. But the difference is, this is a guy who had a near-death experience. He died, came back to life. When he was out of his body, he saw, whatever avatar being that told, whatever. And he turned his, said, I'll go back. And, he was in a meditative state. He was able to go into deep meditation. He then became a meditation teacher, and he would meditate for 8 hours a day. And so I think the neural pathway that he created for himself at a very young age gave him the ability to have a lot of these experiences without them, destroying him. Whereas here I am, I haven't had these kinds of experiences to my knowledge at that level, and here I jump into it with everything I have. The other thing I guess that I want to end on, which I find very interesting, it makes me wonder how much they understand about humans. And, there's obviously many different species. So what are the different awarenesses? What are they, are they at differing levels? But they all seem to carry the same extreme enthusiasm just for the idea. I mean, there are beings out there that's all that they're doing. They're flying around, and all they want to do is connect with other conscious beings and interact with them. And they love doing it. I can tell it's very, and they just enjoy it. They enjoy the hell out of it. And so they're at a higher level of dimensionality, which means that their emotions are even more intense. So when they enjoy something, to the nth degree, even more than we're capable of experiencing it. So when you reach out to them and you're really excited, they get super excited and they show up, and they may not know, that they can frighten and overwhelm us. They may not realize that. So I think some of them are more aware, because my experience with them is some are a lot less intense and are less likely to do something that will frighten you. They may have an understanding that your brain will have a hard time comprehending it. And then there are others that just are very big and boisterous and intense about it. And I know there's been other people who have had very powerful, lifelong personal interactions with these beings, and same thing, that sometimes it can get really frightening because your human body and your brain just aren't prepared for the level of strangeness that it is for us. So anyway, it's really exciting. But the main thing is, I think that these beings have been with us forever. They have been, in fact, I'm looking back on experiences in my life that I experienced in the definition of Christianity. They presented themselves as beings that were part of the Christian religion. And I believe they did that because they are only interested in interacting and elevating consciousness. They have no judgment on your religion. If you're a Buddhist, if you're a Hindu, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, they will interact with whatever your belief system is, because they're only interested in, the part of you that wants to expand. And if you have to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Mormon or whatever it is, but there's a part of you that wants to expand and grow, they will meet you at that level. And you can have a supernatural experience where you see Buddha or Christ or Shiva or whatever. And it's actually high-level ETs that are responding to your desire to spiritually and energetically evolve. And so I think they've been with us forever. But the difference is now they are consciously choosing to say, okay, guys, we're going to take the mask off. And we're doing that because you get to be part of our club now. You guys get to come out of, being these primitive primate beings and, your superstitions and your religion. And we're just letting you know, no, this is existence and you can be part of it. And I think that they're conscious that it's going to be traumatic for our human brains. And so that leads me to believe that this is very serious, that we are on the verge of a 5D upgrade, whether we like it or not, that Mother Earth is a conscious being, and she has said, you know what, enough. I'm going to upgrade. You can either come with me or not. It's up to you. I love you, but I have to do this for my own health. I'm not going to let you guys, infect me with your fear and your violence any longer. I'm going to move forward. You're welcome to come with me. And I believe these beings are like, okay, so humans, I know, you don't want to wake up, but it's time to wake up. Here's the alarm bell. It's time to wake up. And if you don't wake up, there are going to be consequences. So we're happy to push you beyond your normal comfort zone. And we're willing to, 1,000 years ago, we wouldn't push you this fast, but we're going to push you this fast now if you choose to. And so they're advertising. So they're doing things like, showing up and all kinds of spacecraft are showing up and they're making it known that, nope, we are extraterrestrial beings of a higher dimension. We exist and we are saying hello. just to get people to want to go in that direction. So I'm feeling a lot better. I don't regret what I've done. I would do it differently now. You know, I've learned the hard way, which is the way that I am. I always learn things the hard way. But now I know. I'm probably going to overdo it again in the future, but that's okay. As long as I take the time to recover, I'm sure it'll be worth it for me. So, all right, that's it, my friends. I wish you all the best. My apologies if I'm a little scatterbrained, but a lot more coming, and I plan to do a lot more of these things. I'm going to, again, give myself a little time, especially let my brain process and, you know, get used to the idea of this new reality that I am now aware of. And when I get more comfortable and I can go back and do this without, you know, any fear, which I'm sure I can do very, very soon, I'm going to start doing more of these live streams. I believe that one of the things they want to do with me, probably with a lot of people, not just me, but I think one of the things they want to do with me is that they want to download into me more meditative techniques and practices. I think everything I've been teaching up to this point has been a download from them. And the things that I've learned are things that have been downloaded to other people, like the Mao Shan. I now am 98% convinced it's extraterrestrial in origin. So these things were designed from the beginning. And I believe that these beings are working in concert with the consciousness of the quantum field, what some people would call God. They're working directly with this consciousness to further the evolution of all conscious beings, not just humans. This is happening on planets all over the place. In fact, I can't wait until I can go. I mean, one of the things I want to do is I want to go to a planet that is, you know, where we were 100,000 years ago. I'm like looking forward to being one of those beings that goes and interacts with them and downloads information to them. And, you know, they'll call me whatever. They'll call me an elf or a, you know, who knows what. But it'll just be a person and who's got a higher level of vibrational awareness and is coming to teach them at their level and help their brain evolve. So these beings have been with us from the beginning, and they have been the instruments through which life and consciousness evolves. Every single, I believe this also, I believe every single species is an experiment in consciousness. And some experiments come to an end. Some experiments, you know, they only go so far and they can't go any further. Dinosaurs, Neanderthals, Denisovans, you know, there have been all kinds of species that have hit an evolutionary end game and they can't go any further. Or in the case of birds, birds used to be dinosaurs. There was, you know, the dinosaurs were technically wiped out, but really what happened is that they evolved, you know, the aspects of dinosaurs that couldn't go any further ceased to be, and the parts of them that could became birds. You know, birds that fly through the air and do all kinds of things we can't do. And so we're at that level. Human beings have hit that, and there's obviously some hope for us because these beings are going out of their way. I mean, they can't be, you know, the fact that I could on a daily basis go into meditation and go out, you know, sometimes just out into the stratosphere and say, hey, anybody there? And they'd show up and they'd come in and blast me with energy. The fact that I could do that every single day tells me that they're very interested in this. So if you're interested in an instant massive upgrade, go look into CE5 protocols. Go on if you want to. I've got the live stream. You can go and do that same meditation with me on that live stream. Just give yourself plenty of time afterwards. Even if you think nothing happened, even if you have a slightly emotional experience, and you think nothing happened, a lot of people think something is happening. They'll feel a hand on their shoulder. They'll see a craft. They'll, you know, a lot of people, you know, all varying levels of things. But if you have any kind of emotional, just even slightly emotional experience, that is a sign that you've been successful. You've been with somebody who's got a light touch and they don't want to overwhelm you. Definitely do it, and then take your time. Take at least a week to process it before you do it again. But a lot more coming. I know that they want to download more and more information through me, and I think that's my job, is to take this information and give you guys new techniques and new downloads. And so I'm going to do that. Anyway, I've been babbling long enough. I'm still going to take a little time and rest. I may show up and do some videos, but I'll let you know when I'm back to 100%. Anyway, I appreciate all of your well wishes, your meditations, and yeah, I'll see you guys real soon. Take care.